Hello, everyone. Welcome. We have a special guest, William Duggan. He is the CEO, the president, the founder of Ananias International. And right now he's coming to us from Pakistan, a country that has a lot of persecuted Christians, a lot of issues going on there. He loves the Pakistani people. William, welcome. We're glad to have you.
Thank you. Me too.
So tell us a little bit about Ananias International. What was the impetus to start this ministry?
Yeah, so we exist to serve, equip, and advocate for persecuted Christians. I started hearing stories about persecuted Christians across different nations, and it just touched my heart. So I began getting myself connected to organizations that were doing this work and ultimately had the opportunity to start Ananias International. Now we're working in countries like Pakistan, India, and even Nigeria with Christians who are facing the highest levels of persecution.
Right now, I saw on social media that you are working in some of the brick kilns. Explain this idea of bonded slavery because Christians are working there. They are essentially slaves. Explain the dynamic that most people don't know about that is so tragic there in Pakistan.
Yeah, it's actually pretty incredible that this is happening. I would say first and foremost, there's more slavery going on in the world today than any other point in history. Specifically in Pakistan, people in the lower levels of society, including Christians who find themselves in that position, often are at a loss when it comes to financial opportunities, educational opportunities. And so typically they will borrow money in order to pay for a medical debt or some sort of problem that they have. So you have an industry of making bricks by hand in these brick kilns that have existed for hundreds, a couple hundred years at least, and they need human capital, human labor in order to do so. So you have predominantly Muslim owners, and they will lend money to Christians who need to borrow money. And so they sign a contract. These contracts are typically predatory, meaning the interest rates on the loan of the money that the individual is borrowing is so high that they'll never be able to pay it off by working in these brick kiln factories. But due to low literacy rates among Christians, they don't understand what they're getting themselves into. And so it becomes a cycle where you have Christians in Pakistan estimated in the millions, thousands, tens of thousands of these brick kilns working, and it becomes a generational issue where the original debtor passes on their debt to their children after they pass away. So you have even second and third generation slaves working in these kilns, and essentially they're modern day plantations. They cannot leave. They work from 14 to 20 hours a day, and the conditions are really abysmal.
Yes, I've been to some of these brick kilns, and obviously, you and I bond over this idea of trying to set these people free. I'm always struck by the fact that there are worlds inside of worlds, and this is a world into itself. You have these brick kilns, which are essentially almost like little villages that have been around, that built around these furnaces, which are baking these bricks. And the folks that live there, they don't live very long, do they? Because of the soot and all of that is happening from this. But describe for folks the conditions in which you have seen these people living.
I mean, as an American, I can't relate it to anything that I've ever seen before. I remember the first time walking into a brick kiln, and you're in a dry, dusty, hot environment, and the people there are working in the scorching heat. In the summertime, you see temperatures above 110, 115 degrees. And then you have the guys that are working at the actual kiln. So they're putting the bricks in fire, add another 20 or 30 degrees to that. You have little kids as young as 2 and 3 years old rotating bricks to dry them in the sun, and these little kids' hands are cracked and their feet are cracked from the heat and the dryness. And it's just unbelievable that people are living in these conditions. There's really no clean water for them to drink. And if you want to call them houses, I mean, you'd be hard pressed to where they live. Essentially, these are small, little brick, call it a house, but really it's fit for animals where these people live. And this is where they live. They never leave the premises of these kilns.
And obviously, no proper sewage or this kind of
No,
thing in these villages, correct?
no, nothing. And like as I mentioned, water is a real issue. So the water that they use in the process of making these bricks with the clay, they mix together. Typically, the kids, and adults, they're drinking the same water. So you have a high rate of, uh, you know, um, infectious diseases that unfortunately people are dying from. The main cause of death in these places are waterborne diseases because of the quality of drinking water there.
And so, how did you get called to this? This is a particularly difficult task. What was the development in your spirit around how we could help these people?
Yeah, I mean, I had no idea that this was a problem until I started working with individuals. The team that I work with here on the ground in Pakistan had been going to brick kilns for years, ministering to these people and bringing food, doing medical check, a medical aid and medical checks. And that was something that they, as a ministry, as a church, were passionate about. And that opened my eyes to what was going on in these brick kilns. And I started watching documentaries on YouTube and learning more, speaking to other people that were doing the same work. And I just, that first time going into a brick kiln, I was just changed. You see people in slavery and you think that this is impossible to be happening in 2024, 2025, 2026, but yet it is. And after I witnessed that, I said, something has to be done. I can't walk away from these people and not do all that I am capable of doing to see that they're set free.
And the fact that the Christians are a minority, an uneducated minority in many cases in Pakistan, has just allowed them to be oppressed in this situation. Modern slavery is real. Christians in Pakistan are treated as second class citizens, and these brick kilns are one generation after another kept in this prison of debt. And for us, it may not be significant debt. It might be $8,000, $7,000 relative to our income. Some
Right.
people may say, that's a lot, but it would not keep you generation one, two, three generations enslaved. But there, of course, they're making pennies, right? I mean, how could we understand the economics of it?
Yeah, I mean the sad part is what you mentioned, that it's generational. So when the original debtor passes away, that debt is transferred down to their kids. And while you're living on this, I call it a plantation because that's the best reference that I think most people would be able, how they would be able to understand it. But all of the food that they consume comes from the owner of the kiln, so that's added to their debt. So the debt continues to rise, and if they have even just one little light bulb in their house, electricity, whatever that may be, is added again to their debt. So you have this process where the debt is increasing, and the work quotas that these families have to make a certain amount of bricks per day is never enough to actually pay off their debt. So, yes, you get in a cyclical situation, and we see families that are second and third generation families, and a family of four or five or six people may have a debt amount of only $3,000, and $3,000 can actually set that family free, pay off their debt, and then they're able to leave, which is almost unimaginable to anybody that is in the West or other places where that is a relatively small amount of money in comparison to freeing a family that's been enslaved for generations.
So we're obviously working in the brick kilns is one part of what you do. Talk a little bit about Ananias International and other ways in which you are serving persecuted Christians.
Yeah, so the heart of this ministry really is in Matthew chapter 5:44. Jesus says, "Love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you," which seems like a difficult thing to do. It is a difficult thing to do for the persecuted church. But the persecuted church, the people that I know, the ones that I've met, have told me we are not the persecuted church. We're actually the victorious church in Jesus Christ. They don't see themselves as persecuted, they see themselves as strong, even though they do go through persecution and they do face that. The reality is that persecution causes the church to grow. And we've seen that from the book of Acts in the beginning of the church for thousands of years until today. So, my role is really to help to equip the existing persecuted, victorious churches here in these countries and come alongside them so that they can do better what they already know how to do. So we do that through means of advocating, doing work in Washington, D.C., similar to what you do and what you've done, David, for many years. That's one component of it that we've been involved with. Another component is aid. So that may be paying the debt of a family in a brick kiln factory and helping to get them assimilated into society by getting them a business, getting their kids in school. Those are just small parts. Another big part is helping Christians that are caught in legal situations. For example, in Pakistan, there are blasphemy laws where Christians are often falsely accused of blasphemy, and the repercussions of that can be life in prison or death. So we have the ability to work with partners, legal aid to help these individuals as well. So it's really all encompassing. It's really meeting the need and filling that gap where the church is unable to fill that void and help people, but really getting to mediate and have good, strong relationships with government officials and local police has been a blessing that we've been able to do to mediate between individuals, whether that be would be a Muslim and a Christian who have a disagreement, to prevent a blasphemy accusation before that happens and before you see an escalation occur. So we get to do a lot of different things, including gospel crusades and sharing the gospel message. That's really my heart. But it's kind of whatever the need is, we get to do. And our facility, Ananias House, is a 24/7 boots on the ground facility where believers can come and receive aid, support, legal, whatever that may mean for them. And it's a safe place where they can come. And we're building these facilities in countries where believers need help. I will say it's not just open to believers. We have our doors open to anybody. If a Muslim or a Hindu or a Sikh wants to come, our doors are open, but we primarily exist to serve Christians because in this country of Pakistan, less than 2% of the population are Christian.
Wow, that's powerful, and I find it encouraging. Many people would find it encouraging, I think, to know that you are a tent maker. That you have a job, you pay. So when people are participating with Ananias International, they they're volunteering, you're volunteering, you're supporting it, they're supporting it. I love that. I believe more and more that this is the wave of the future, is that every believer doing what God has called them to do. Talk about your journey as a tent maker and how when people give to Ananias, it's benefiting the people directly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I started this ministry with a vision that God gave me. In Acts chapter 9, the man Ananias who prayed for Saul was sent by God to do so. And because of his obedience, Saul was healed and essentially became the Apostle Paul, who we all know. The vision that God gave me is that as believers, if we pray for those who persecute us, as Jesus says in Matthew 5, chapter 5, verse 44, that we can see Sauls around the world who are persecuting the church become like the Apostle Paul. And so he gave me that vision and said, run with this, go with this. At first, I didn't exactly know what that looked like and what that meant. But as I started sharing this vision with my brothers that I've met in these other nations facing persecution, they really grasped this. And the concept is biblical. First, forgiveness. In forgiveness, it opens up freedom. And so, I guess to get back to your question, um, I really wanted to do whatever I could to help, and I wasn't concerned with making a living doing this. I was volunteering. I was writing letters to members of Congress. I was doing whatever I could to help, and so today, anybody that supports Ananias International, now we're set up as a 501c3. We have been for a number of years. We're scaling, but the great thing is that 100% of the money that comes into this ministry goes directly back to the people that need it most. I take no salary. Everybody that I work with are volunteers, and it's their heart to do this work. They're already doing it, but we're giving them more of the materials and more of the structure and the facilities to be able to do what they're already doing. And so it's a joy to do it. And when you see people restored from slavery to being successful, to having a business, to having a job, to having their families prospering, there's nothing like it. And I would do it for free forever if I could.
Tell us, tell us a story of a family that has been rescued out of slavery, because I think to personalize it for people so we could understand just how potent your ministry is. Do you have a family that comes to mind?
Yeah, I do. There was a man, his name is Javed, his wife, Saba, who I met in March of 2025. And I went to a brick kiln, and they were the first family that actually walked up to us. And the woman, the wife, she got on her knees at my feet and just began to weep. And her husband came, and their four kids came, and all of their kids are under the age of 6, and they all work in this kiln. And I just got down on my knees next to them, and I just began to pray. And in that moment, I knew I wanted to do anything I could to rescue this family, who were their children are third generation slaves. These two parents were born in this brick kiln. And I remember saying to God as I left the kiln, you have to do something to set this family free, because I'm not capable. I don't have even the financial means right now to pay their debt. And so the hardest thing was getting back in the car and seeing that family, wiping the tears from their faces as I got in my air conditioned car with my clean water to go back home to my comfortable place. Within a number of months, we received a donation that allowed us to go in and rescue this family. And today, they have a business, they have cows, they sell the milk. The kids are getting ready to go to school. They're financially stable, they're spiritually stable, they're growing. I just got to see them about a week ago. And my prayer was that I would see Saba, the wife, go from having just this frown and this look of despair on her face. My prayer was, God, can I please just see her with a smile? And I just got to see them. She was smiling from ear to ear. Her husband is doing great, and the kids are doing amazing. And it's that kind of testimony, that kind of story, that real life impact that makes you say, I will do anything that I can do to see that these people are set free. Imagine your family or your extended family is stuck in slavery. Wouldn't you do anything you could do to see that they were set free? It's the same thing here. Even though these aren't my brothers or sisters by blood or relatives by blood, when you see them and you know that they're your brothers and sisters in Christ, I mean, how can you not do anything possible to set them free?
I love that. I love that. Where do people go if they want to support Ananias International?
Yeah, the best place to go is our website, www.ananiasinternational.org. Again, we're also on all social media platforms too, so you can connect with us on there too. But our website is probably the best place to go. For security and safety reasons, we don't share a lot of content on the website and on some of these places, but certainly you can connect with us there.
Thank you, William Duggan. I appreciate what you do. Please do go support Ananias International. Thank you.